Ba-da-da-da-da-da. Dungeons and Dopamine. Ta-da! Hello, welcome to Dungeons and Dopamine, episode 89.
Woohoo!
I'm Jess.
Yay! I'm Bre.
Woohoo! I thought we were just hyping each other.
We should.
Right?
Except like in the mornings, not just on the podcast. Could you please plan that into your morning routine, please?
I am a much more tolerable person in the morning, but I'm still not entirely pleasant. So let's extend it to like brunch time.
Perfect.
11 a.m. hyping.
Because the difference between 8 a.m. hyping and 11 a.m. hyping could be very distinct.
By 11 a.m. I have at least caffeinated.
You just see 8 a.m. You're like, do the things.
You're great.
Boo.
It's just me like a...
Woo.
I just copy and paste some frilly life quote.
Won't even apply.
Life is about dancing in the rain.
Goalposts. I don't know.
Exactly.
We would be great motivational speakers.
I cannot agree more. I actually think that they should let us speak at the Comic-Con. Like, they should let us do a live episode at Comic-Con. It'd be a blast. I'd be so nervous.
Maybe we can arrange that for next year.
Yeah.
Because we need a little bit quieter spot, I think.
Yeah, and I
we
think
had a lot of chaos.
We definitely need time to figure out what people wanted to even hear.
Right.
The only people that would be there would be, like, our friends.
And Hank.
Yeah.
Who I guess is our friend.
Yeah, well, he
our
is
only
now.
friend.
I hope it's Hank in his Dogman costume. It's the only way I'll accept it.
Just FYI.
He has a German Shepherd, and my mom has a German Shepherd, so maybe if we shave the two of them combined for the next several months, then he can have enough hair to make a costume.
This sounds reasonable.
I disagree. No, I don't disagree. I missed a key word in there. I disagree.
Oh.
It's been a long day.
It's been a long
Since
week.
you got here.
We're on day 3 of snow days, plus...
We had Martin Luther King Day.
Plus the kids had Martin Luther King Jr. Day off, and I am both, like, overstimulated and understimulated at the same time.
Well, and now we're getting to, like, the dangerous point in Michigan where it's clear enough that even the people who won't go out in the snow are going out because they're desperate. Also,
please get me out of the house.
Don't have groceries for this.
I'm so out of food.
Michigan is not one of those places where you're like, oh, a snowstorm, okay, I better go get all the essentials. No, you're like, yeah, okay,
sure,
that's winter in Michigan.
I'll still go to the store tomorrow.
Yeah,
but then it snows and you're like, I don't really want to go outside.
I mean, there's like old cheese I could probably eat. You just cut the green part off.
If I melt it, it'll be fine.
I won't even taste it. Oh, I hate that though this is totally different topic. When you open cheese and it smells like feet, ugh, that's when it's gone bad.
Right.
Yeah.
I have such an awful sense of smell that I've probably never smelled bad cheese.
You smell terrible.
I do smell awful.
I disagree.
Good job. Good job. You're really getting that down.
I'm getting it. I just need to write down the definition and put it up on the wall so that I can use it appropriately.
Your decorations on your wall just say, I disagree.
People are like, why? What is wrong with you?
Disagree with what?
That makes it seem like I'm such like a Daria type girl.
Right?
I had a moment. So, I won't say exactly where we were going. You know, because my husband just made a point of it. But Monday was kind of an iffy day to be out, but we had already made plans to go out for brunch, and then we were going to go do an activity inside because we don't do outside activities in
it's winter.
It was like 2 degrees.
It was so cold.
So anyway, So I called the activity place and I was like, hey, I just wanted to make sure you guys were open. And the girl on the other end of the line was like, well, yeah, but I wouldn't come out. And I was like, oh, do you think you're going to close early? And she was like, well, no, probably not. And I'm sort of paraphrasing because I don't want to give away what it was, but she was so rude that I felt awkward walking in.
Yeah.
Because I was like, okay. But then we got there and I saw she was like a 16 to 18-year-old girl. So then we start to get ready and do our thing, and she kind of walks over and she's like, have you been here before? So I was like, yep, we're good. She was like, oh, I hope it was okay getting here. The roads were so bad this morning, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, you live in Michigan.
This is your life.
And then she had other groups of people come in, and she ended up with a full activity place. Like, it wasn't like we were the only ones there keeping her busy. But
even if you had been, like, she's gonna have to be open no matter what.
Right.
They obviously weren't letting her close and go home.
Exactly.
Wouldn't you rather people be there?
So your day can go by faster?
Right.
And then every time you'd, like, look up at her, she looked so scowly and unhappy. And I was like, it was so off-putting. Like, I apparently am becoming a Karen because I want to be like, I just want the owner to know that was said to me. Because if I owned a company, I would be really upset about that.
Right.
Like,
don't send my business away.
Don't ever tell people not to come here.
Unless we're literally closing.
Exactly. And that day, aside from schools and churches, no one else closed.
And
everything was open.
The schools were already closed.
Exactly.
Because it was Martin Luther King Jr. Day.
Yeah. So it was just off-putting. But it made me think of that because I think of the phrase Daria girl. Don't just be moody to be moody. Let's see. I did also find out today that I have gallstones.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yes, I disagree. I got it. Nailed it.
You're great at this now.
Just a little practice.
So I assume you still, like, you probably just got the results online. You haven't actually talked to your doctor.
No, I did talk to my doctor, and I have a consult for surgery next week.
Yay!
So apparently with gallstones, they don't mess around because your gallbladder can rupture. Which,
yeah.
By the way, can we just... I think I've talked about this before, but, like, everything that has to do with your gallbladder sounds gross.
All the words are gross.
Bile. Bladder, bile. Blech, stones. Like, it. Oh, I don't like any of it.
It gives you the ick.
Totally. Just like when men tie their shoes bunny style.
That's the worst. Makes me very uncomfortable.
Absolutely. But only when my husband does.
Obviously. He's the only person I pay attention to tying their shoes.
Because they're so large. I just keep thinking, like, in a few months, this will all be a memory.
Yeah.
So...
You're going to feel so much better.
It's going to be magical.
Well, that's fun.
Yeah. I love it.
Yay. I disagree. Thanks.
I do not disagree. So anyway, that's my excitement for today.
So,
yeah.
Last year was all about me figuring out my issues. Right? This year is all about you figuring out your issues. It's so nice that we can take turns so that we always have something to talk about on the podcast.
I agree. Next year, I quit. I'll have no more issues. We're done.
We won't have anything to talk about. We'll just be healthy and happy, and
we'll just talk about our European fans.
Yeah, because
apparently we have one of those, or someone on a VPN, whatever.
But it's cool.
Oh, it's Valentine's Day week.
Yes, or it is in the future.
Correct. Currently, it's just a week. It's snow week.
It's snow week. I will be back from Disney by the time people hear this episode.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to me.
It's exciting and sad.
It is.
So you plan it for so long, and then you're there, and it goes by so fast.
I'm already like we leave in like 9 days, and I'm like, but in less than 2 weeks, it's already over.
I know.
But 2 weeks from today, I'll be finishing up at Epcot. And
the nice thing is that you're so tired that you're like, yeah, get me home now.
Please, get me to my bed.
So you're sad, but also
Exhausted.
yeah. So
That's
it
true.
makes it kind of okay.
And the weather is, so I mean, we're 2 weeks out, so I can't be totally sure, but they're talking like mid 70s. I'm so stoked.
That's perfect.
It's going to be amazing.
Unless it snows, like it did
Yeah,
this week.
like it did this week.
Destin, Florida apparently reported 10 inches of snow.
That's insane.
I've been to Destin, Florida. It's not cold.
Right, right.
I'm sure it's like that all year.
That's, yeah, in everywhere down south. Louisiana and Atlanta and all those places.
And my Georgia coworkers were really excited about the snow. They were more excited the first round of snow. The second round, they were like, yeah, it's snowing.
Okay, that
I'm
was
like,
exciting. Now I'm over it. And you were like, let me tell you about my
wait
life.
until the February blizzard happens. Because by then you're really tired of it.
Right?
Ugh.
And then that late March one that always rolls in just when we think spring is starting.
I know we get excited, maybe even buy a plant, and then
It gets up to like 70 degrees 1 week, and then 2 weeks later, 7 inches of snow. Just for fun.
and then everything's muddy and grungy for that period of time. Michigan has one ugly phase, I think, because otherwise I do feel like Michigan is a really beautiful state. We're pretty lucky.
But yeah, all of the, and it's really like January through March.
Yeah.
Like right now it's gorgeous out.
It's
It is beautiful.
amazing.
We got all this fresh snow. It's like perfectly
Fluffy
piled on
and
the trees.
Glittery in the
It
morning when
looks
it's sunny.
like a card that you would send at Christmas. And then in 3 days, once the world
warms up.
thaws a little bit and enters the world again, it just gets nasty and slushy and gray.
dirty. Yep.
Everything's gray for like 2 months.
But anyway,
That's our episode.
happy Valentine's Day.
Here's a weather update with Bre and Jess.
Okay, so did you ever listen to the Night Vale podcast?
I think no, I didn't. I listened to the Black Tapes one
Black Tapes
until I
is
got too freaked out.
amazing. Yeah. They thought about bringing Black Tapes back, but they never were able to. I'm probably gonna have to cut half of this out. I might cut out the stuff about my gallbladder because of all the gross words.
Just can't handle hearing them anymore.
Exactly. So Night Vale does. I think you might get a kick out of Night Vale. It's weird, but like sci-fi-y weird.
Ooh.
And a little creepy, but not like Black Tapes. Not like Black Tapes. Which I have to listen to with someone home or when I used to work in the offices because...
And that's, I think when I listened to it, I think I was doing really well, and then I was like driving home somewhere late one night. And I was the only one in the car, and it was pitch black out, and I was like, and done.
That's enough of that.
I'm going to find something happy to listen to.
When I first started listening to the Black Tapes, which if you haven't, you should if you want something creepy to listen to, I thought it could be not real necessarily, but people who thought it was real. Then I realized that all of the voice actors were way too well spoken. They were very punctuating on their work. I mean, it's very satisfying to listen to. Like, that's part of why I like it so much, because of how well they speak.
Yeah, there's no like backwoods guy that they brought in as a witness
Right.
that you can only understand every other word he has. Like they're all
Exactly.
very well spoken,
It's
and
beautiful.
the thoughts, like their thoughts are well thought out, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then I was like, okay, this can't be. And not that I thought it was necessarily real, but that these people maybe think it's real.
yeah, and it's
So-
it's always good to have that question of it.
Yeah. Oh,
like,
it was great. It made it even better.
It ruins it a little bit if you're like, oh, I know this is all fake.
Yeah. Well, so Night Vale is 1 bazillion% fake, but it's about a town called Night Vale, and they have a whole bunch of quirky stuff, like they have a dog park, but we don't talk about the dog park, and we don't look at the dog park, and you don't bring your dog to the dog park. And then when they go to weather break, because it's all like a radio show,
Okay.
and then when they go to weather break, they play music. And the podcast itself has found all of these like indie artists and small time artists, and they play them on the show.
That's cool.
It's really cool. Sometimes I've loved it and I've researched more about the artist. Sometimes I'm like, oh, okay, I could skip this weather.
Right.
But show's great. It's really funny. It can give you creepy vibes, and it's very unique.
Did you ever watch the show Eureka? Not Eureka's Castle
Of
from when
course.
we were children, which I know you have watched
Love.
and enjoy.
Did you know that Magellan, the dragon, is the same voice as Bear in the Big Blue House?
Oh, that makes sense.
And that's
but
what
I
I
did not know that.
I suddenly was like it was an epiphany, exploded in my brain because I love Bear, even though we were really too old for that.
Mm-hmm.
But now knowing that, I'm like,
No
oh my gosh, it
wonder.
makes so much sense because it was so comforting.
Right?
Anyways, I'm so sorry. Eureka, yes.
Yes, the show.
Eureka.
The new... It's not new anymore.
It's like sci-fi,
Yeah,
right?
it's like a city in, I think, Washington maybe, and they do a bunch of science experiments, and they're like government, but secret government.
They're government parallel.
Yeah. And same idea, like it's just a bunch of weird stuff that happens, and everybody in town is just like, yeah, that's just what happens here. Another day in Eureka.
I think I caught one episode and I was like, this is great. I should watch more of this. But it was when I didn't have access to that kind of thing.
Oh, right. Before everything was at our fingertips.
Exactly.
You should watch it. I feel like you and Ryan would
I
really
think
get
you're
into
right.
it.
I think you're right. I should write it down or else I'm
It's
not going to
a
remember.
little... We tried to watch it with Connor recently, and it is a little grown up for kids.
Got it.
Some
Okay.
of the storylines and things, I was like,
Maybe some spooky imagery or
not.
something.
Yeah.
So I'm going to write it down. And that gives me a chance to pull up my very small amount of notes. Speaking of notes, we're going to talk about love.
Love.
I don't know what that has to do with love notes. Sure,
There
we'll
you
wrap
go.
that
Yeah,
together.
that was a word.
That was fantabulous.
Fem.
I disagree.
I don't know what you were going for there.
Femalistical tea.
Can you please write that down so that can become our new catchphrase? Thank you.
No.
I disagree. Thanks.
Do not disagree. My brain is rot.
It's the snow and the cold. I've decided.
In the gallstones.
Nope. We don't talk about the gallstones.
We don't talk about gallstone. No. We didn't know there was going to be a song in this episode.
It's always better when there is, though.
I think I wanted to start the episode singing, but now I can't remember what song I wanted to sing. And it was like
It was a love
copyrighted,
song,
so.
but now all I can think of is Love Shack. So
I think that's even better than what I was planning.
we should have a whole episode. No, we shouldn't. But we should have a whole episode where we just sing like one word of each love song, because there's a billion.
Oh, there's so many. And then you have to like follow it up with a word or yeah.
So last year we did. Let me just yell at you.
Please do.
Last year we did a love episode, but I don't remember it. I think it was more cutesy, kind of.
We kind of told stories.
Yeah.
Did love stories about I remember telling my grandparents
Yep,
love
we
stories.
talked about Nana and Papa.
Yep. And our own. I mean briefly.
Yeah, because we're not that cute.
Nah.
Except for you and Ryan and your soulmateness. Gross.
But we were really pretty boring. We went middle school. Ugh.
And
There was
then-
nothing cool about it. I almost left him because of the way he ties his shoes.
He's
It's
such a
joke that
child.
No one else is going to understand. They're really going to think we're horrible people.
Right. Or that something's wrong with Ryan.
They'll probably assume that. They've seen Ryan.
They're like, so he can like edit these episodes, but he can't tie his shoes? I
He
don't
wears
get
hey
it.
dudes. It's fine. We found a workaround.
I mean, most shoes are some sort of Velcro or no tie anyway, so who
Getting
needs that
prepared
skill?
For elderly. Anyway, love.
Love. I did a little bit of research about the science part of love, which might ruin it for you. I don't know. Many episodes ago, I did a like happy brain chemical episode where I talked about the different types of brain chemicals and how they affect us and when they work and what they work towards. And I kind of just wanted to do a quick research about how that works with love. Probably when I talked about it before, it's the bonding chemical. So I talked about it mostly in terms of like moms and babies, because oxytocin is the chemical that's released when you give birth. But oxytocin also happens when you are falling in love.
I cannot explain to you how hard it is for me not to break out in song every single time.
Every time I say love.
Something new is in my brain every single time.
So what I did think is interesting is, I can't find the statistic right now, but out of all of the cultures that have been studied throughout the world, I would say like 90% of them, 95% of them have some sort of romantic love in them. So even like the remote tribes that don't have access to the internet or anything, they still have love. They still fall in love. But there is a chemical component to it. And I don't know, like some people find this very anti-romantic, like when you boil it down to there's a movie, and I've been trying to think of it for days and I can't, but there's a movie where the guy is like, oh, falling in love is just chemicals, blah, 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 blah. And the woman is like, you always ruin it. You made it so not romantic.
You turned it into science. And Bree's like, excuse me?
Hey, tell me some science.
She shows up in the movie. The guy's got to push her away by her face.
It's like, get away from me.
Who even invited you to this set?
And so the scientists also believe that it's not necessarily just a reproduction thing, that the reason that we have love. So boiling it down to like chemical explosions in our brain and our body and all of these happy chemicals that are flooding our system. So if you're looking for that romantic part of it, it is more than just procreation.
Which is where you could really boil it down to. Yeah,
Right.
of course, you feel like you fell in love because the chemicals explode and then you have babies and then you've done your part.
Oh, I did what I was supposed to do. So anyway, yes, we have oxytocin is released when we are falling in love, but also an increase in dopamine and noradrenaline, so which is actually one of the hormones that I have issues with my POTS, is the noradrenaline, which
is that why you love so many people?
Maybe. I have an overproduction of noradrenaline, and it just makes me explode with love. It's not my fault. So the dopamine and the noradrenaline is the like euphoric feeling that we feel. Obviously, we know this a little bit when we talk about dopamine. It's what our whole podcast is based on, is the idea that there are things that give us joys. You know, dopamine is like these bursts of joys, these bursts of feelings that we enjoy something and that we like something.
And drugs make us feel that sometimes. Drugs mess with the dopamine and then you feel good and so you want more. But meth actually kills your dopamine. Anyway, this is a totally different topic.
That's next week's topic. Next week we talk about meth. We go back to our roots.
Yeah, because we are so much better than meth.
We are definitely better
than
meth.
And methane. There's so many things we're better than.
Like 89 things that we're better than.
Well, I think there was one that is not better than. I think we named like our 1 year episode or something not better than. Mm-hmm. Anyway.
The noradrenaline is also the physiological response. So your faster heart rate, the butterflies in your stomach, that like burst of energy you get. If you read into any of, and we'll talk more later about like different types of love or like the newfangled styles of love and acceptance and all of that, a lot of people talk about new relationship energy.
Yes.
And that's
honeymoon phase.
Yes, and that's where all of this is happening. When your dopamine is in overdrive, your noradrenaline, your oxytocin, when all of this is happening, this is all during that like new stage when everything is still really exciting. And while all of this is happening, your brain is actually, there's reduced activity in your frontal cortex, which reduces your negative emotions and judgments. So literally, like we talk about people being like blinded by love, it's literally a thing that your brain is doing. The chemicals and everything is going so crazy, you have blinders on. This is when you're doing things like staying up too late because you don't want to go home or you don't want to get off the phone with them. And that's the nice part of it. But it might also be the times when you're ignoring the red flags, or
that's what I was going to ask.
like
Is it
letting people take advantage of you because your brain is like not functioning in a way that even recognizes that this is going on.
your brain turns into those like sweet tart hearts?
Yes. Yeah.
Say,
And it's like,
call me.
it's fine. It's fine. It'll all be fine. And then if you stay in that situation or that relationship, then we start to get more of the oxytocin that starts to accumulate, and that's what's forming that bond. So we start to feel bonded to that person. We have vasopressin, which starts during the next phase, and this is what makes us start to feel like commitment and attachment. So this is where you might start to be a little bit jealous or territorial of the relationship or the person, and that again is a chemical in your brain that is like, hey,
That's mine.
I've bonded with this thing. It's mine now.
I own it, despite how it ties into it.
The last thing this website talks about is that we do see these love hormones or these things in non-romantic situations as well.
I was going to ask that.
But to a lower extent for the most part. I mean, you can still obviously, and I think we'll talk more in this episode about, you can love your friends. You probably just don't get that big rush of the dopamine and the noradrenaline. You probably don't get like the sweaty hands and the increased heart rate. But you still, like, I've met new friends
And you get so
as an
excited.
adult, and I'm like, we have so much in common. Like, this is so exciting. I haven't met another adult friend as an adult that I actually like bond with.
I feel that way about every animal I see, always.
Maybe that'll be the next study. It's just how oxytocin in animals, like what makes us bond with animals.
Mike, I have a follow-up question. Can you feel that way about inanimate objects, like a video game?
From my studies of the people I hang out with, yes,
You can play Baldur's Gate instead of get your topic ready for the podcast.
I mean, well, so ADHD, right, is all
Yes.
a dopamine issue, and we're constantly searching for that dopamine. So if you're finding something that gives you dopamine, not that I'm saying you're like in love with a video game, but I could see how, especially with our brains being wired the way they are, we like having that extra attachment, or it feels like an addiction. Absolutely. That's the chemical part of it. I mean, there's more, that I could spend days talking about the different hormones and like how your pupils get bigger when you look at somebody that you love and all the things. But there are chemical, hormonal things that are going on behind the scenes, which I think is really interesting.
Mm-hmm. And how they interact with each other, and how two people can feel that at the same time, and why you don't feel that with certain people. And it's very interesting. I think of, when you say that it can happen with non-sexual relationships, I think of like the first time you see your baby.
Yes.
You get butterflies, you get that heart increase, but you obviously do not feel that way towards your baby.
Right. Some of it's terror, but
absolutely. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that might be most of it. The adrenaline rush of, oh my gosh, I have to take care of this.
Who let me do this?
That actually happened to me when they told me I could leave the hospital.
Oh, same.
And I was like, what?
You just let me leave with this human?
Where's the nurse that comes home with me?
Are you gonna check my car seat? No? Are you sure? Are you sure I should be trusted?
This is a lie.
I would like to keep it that way.
I mean, we've managed for over 8 years.
That's impressive.
We're
doing
proud of
great.
us. Yes. Go us. But yes, and I don't know how to transition from that to like more conversation.
Well, so let me show you.
I do not disagree.
So speaking of different types of love still having that type of reaction, obviously the oxytocin when we bond with our family and that bonding hormone, there are many different types of love.
Yes.
So we both happen to come up
the same thing.
The 8 different types of love according to the ancient Greeks. Did yours come from the very legitimate Cosmopolitan website? Because that's where mine came from.
I don't know. I took screenshots. All I can see on the search bar is google.com/search. And then I have the answers of my search.
All right. So probably yes.
Probably yes. I do have a story associated with this, though. When I was in my probably very first serious relationship, we had used the L word, and we were still young. We were still in high school. Our friend group is very friendly. We hug, we cuddle.
To put it lightly.
Yeah. The moment you meet the group, you're one of them, and suddenly you're touchable. Not in a wrong way, and we all do have our boundaries. We respect each other's boundary, yeah. Until you get into the inner circle. So we, a lot of times, would like, okay, love ya. Or, oh my gosh, I love you so much. Mm-hmm. I told a guy that we're working with on software development that if he could do a thing for me on the software, that I would love him forever. And thankfully he laughed.
Sometimes that backfires. Be careful.
Right. Thankfully he laughed, and he was like, that's how I seduced my wife, or something like that. So I was like, okay, cool.
We're on the same page.
And I assumed, software guy was gonna get it. But so he actually got not the software guy.
I was like, man, you really dived into this. Hey, software guy.
He was real jealous.
Let's talk about love.
It's all you need. I'm sorry, I'm having a really hard time with songs. He got very jealous because he and I had used love as, to each other, but why was I saying it to everybody? It kind of made it cheaper.
Ooh.
And I had to explain to him, no, like, I love you in a different way than I love Bre or any of my friends or my parents, because wouldn't it be freaky if I loved them in the same way? If I loved my dog the same way that I love you? So I did have to explain that to him, and I didn't even know about the Greeks back then. If they existed.
It would have been great if you had.
Right.
Like, here, let me give you a history lesson.
This is actually agape love.
Which the word originated back in the Greek times.
And truly, it means. So, yes, I love that, because I was just kind of telling him out of my heart in a way that, of course, I'm telling them I love them. I do love them. Mm-hmm. Just not the same as I love you.
Just don't want to make out with them all the time.
Exactly. And I didn't realize that the Greeks had already coined this and penned this. I should have known. And made this make sense.
And I'm sad we don't use this more often.
Right?
Especially like when you're trying to teach children about love.
Yeah.
And teach them like what's appropriate and what's inappropriate, and like boundaries and all of that. Being able to refer to this might be okay in this type of love, but not in this type of love, or whatever.
Yeah. It's really fascinating. If I had to, I don't know. I like all of them, to be honest. I think they're all really cool.
And they're all important.
I agree, yeah.
Like, your life is better if, well, no, I guess obsessive love is still okay, too. You need a little bit of Baldur's Gate in your life.
Exactly. A lot of Baldur's Gate in your life. I don't want to tell you how many hours of Baldur's Gate total since November that I've played. It's
1 million.
I haven't stopped. I'm playing right now.
That would be talent. I would be proud of you.
If I had a way, I probably would. So, do we want to cover these?
Yeah, we might as well.
Brief descriptions of them.
Go for it.
Okay. So my list, and perhaps yours starts in a different place, but my list starts with Eros, which is a lust and sexual passion kind of love.
Typical relationship love.
Yeah. Or maybe even just like quick one night stand, passionate, almost like this one could almost turn dangerous, in my opinion.
Oh, absolutely.
Obsession. I know that's in here as well, but I think this could turn into something obsessive and something dangerous. Stalker.
Okay. Probably goes back to like the new relationship energy. The
rush.
Lots of dopamine and noradrenaline going on.
Yep. The second, so Ludus.
Okay.
I think is how you say it. Ludus. is playful love. This one would probably be my favorite. Like,
Same.
between young lovers. So it is more of a relationship style, or a how do I want to say that? Romantic relationship style of love. But it's that playful, fun love.
Flirty.
Flirty.
I love
yes.
flirting.
Yes, absolutely. Philia.
Which sounds awful.
Yeah. Yeah, we've got to be careful with that.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's related. It's the word.
It's always a Greek word or Latin word.
Latin or Greek ending, which would normally mean like obsession in modern day language.
Right.
But in this terms, it actually means friendship.
Yes, like a deep, loyal friendship.
Like me and Jessica.
Exactly. It's
When you've been
and
best friends
Dopiophilia.
since 4th grade, you just have to.
You don't have a choice. And then this is one I've mentioned already, but agape. And this is love for everyone. This is just almost like a general kindness love. Like the earth, the animals. It's almost respect, in my opinion. You could fill in a lot of different words here to help explain this one.
Humankind as a whole.
Yeah.
And, my love for your community or your area that you live in, and general acceptance for people.
Yeah. And it's probably not as deep as, any of those other kinds so far, but it's really important. It's how you can be in the world and not be a piece of crap, which I don't have a Greek word for.
Next time on Dungeons and Dopamine.
All right, so the next would be storge or storge. We're not sure how it's said. So
Storge.
take a guess.
You tell us.
Exactly. This is family love. This is, if I had to pick one off the list to have only for that for the rest of my life, it would be this one. But I'm also lumping Ryan as my family.
Right.
So I don't know if it counts.
But yeah, like because not everybody does find like passionate love or romantic love, or they lose it early or something happens. But having family, having that support system, and this again doesn't have to be blood family. It doesn't have to be who you were assigned to have to grow up with when you were born, but who you create as your family.
Yeah. Pragma, and this is enduring love that grows into a strong and healthy relationship, which is kind of beautiful and a little bit disgusting.
Love is gross.
Ew. And then the final, I don't know how to say this, philautia.
That would be my guess.
Okay. Philautia, and this is incredibly important in my opinion, and this is love for self.
Yes.
And that's the toughest for me.
I think for a lot of us.
Yeah.
And probably the least talked about.
Yeah, because we do self-care and all that kind of stuff, but it's always brushed off, or it's the first thing you abandon when you get busy.
Absolutely. And it's so much easier to focus on, like, whether you're in therapy or reading self-help books or whatever you're doing in your life. A lot of it tends to focus on improving your relationships with others.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
And not so much on how to improve your relationship with yourself.
Yeah.
So whether it's negative self-talk or whatever you've got, just low self-confidence or whatever it is, I think a lot of us are low, or we put this lowest on the list, which is silly because what do they say? You can't truly love anyone else until you can love yourself.
Exactly. I would add one kind of love, and I think it's different than the rest of these, even though storge is very close. I think there's a different kind of love a parent has for their kid.
I think so too.
And I know that sounds hokey, but I think if you've become a parent, and you understand
I love Connor in a different way than I love my dad.
Yeah. I love Carly in a way I've never loved anyone else.
There are a lot of things I would do for my dad, but I would literally jump in front of a bullet for Connor.
Exactly.
Like, it's a whole different, like, you almost push aside your sense of self.
Yes, absolutely.
For this thing you created.
Yeah, I would absolutely add that on there. And I know that it ties into family because they are your family. But I definitely like you said, I feel different about my kid than I do about my parents or my husband or that.
And I wonder if that will change
as they grow.
Yeah, as they become more independent, because a lot of it is like
that
the mama bear,
dad,
parent bear of like, I have to provide, like, he's my responsibility. I have to provide for him and make sure he's safe and make sure he's taken care of.
That makes sense. But also, I mean, I still feel that in my mom. Like, I still feel like she'd take a bullet for me. And so I still wonder. That's a great question. I wonder if it will fade as we grow. Be interesting. If you have older children, or morph. If you have older children, let us know. Yeah. Or let us know if you disagree and you think it's exactly the same as just family love. Not just family love, I think family love. And it's something I really briefly wanted to touch on, just because January is Stalking Awareness Month. Ooh. And so I actually thought it was the right time. I know that we're doing a Valentine episode, but January is where we are currently. So I also think that you want to be careful to not let love make you your blinders. You want to be careful that you don't let it become abuse or stalking. I know you cannot control if someone is stalking you, but you don't want to turn into the stalker.
Or feel like that is love.
Yes, don't let someone trick you into that. And abuse is such a difficult thing, because a lot of abusers, and I'm kind of going in romantic relationships here, but a lot of them will hurt you and then cry and apologize and tell you they love you and love bomb you after that. And that can be easy to be tricked into. This is how love is. This is just what it is, especially if you've had difficult love growing up.
Or didn't have great examples of good love around you.
Yes.
I actually saw, it must have been a Facebook reel, because I haven't been on TikTok since all the drama. And it was about how ADHD people are so much more susceptible to abuse in romantic relationships, especially when it comes from people with narcissism. And it's because, as we were just talking about, with ADHD, we're constantly looking for those dopamine drips and those dopamine increases. And a narcissist is really good at, number one, love bombing, which is something ADHD people love in the beginning, because you get all this great attention and you've got all these hormones going on and you've got all this extra dopamine dumping into your brain, and it's really easy to get caught up in it and feel like, oh my God, this is true love. Look how much they love me. This is amazing. And then, as narcissists do, that doesn't last forever, and then they start to show their more abusive behavior or their more toxic behavior. With ADHD, instead of being like, oh, what a jerk, our rejection sensitivity disorder dysphoria kicks in, and we're like, oh my God, what did I do to deserve this? What's wrong with me? Like, everything was going so well. They're my soulmate. I love them so much, and now they're cold, and you're automatically wondering what you did wrong. And then they come back with more love bombing or gaslighting or whatever trick they have up their sleeve to reel you back in. And we love that game in our brains. We love that drop of dopamine and then pull back and then give me more, give me more, give me more. So we are very susceptible to fall into those types of dangerous or abusive relationships.
It makes a lot of sense. I don't want it to, but it does.
But it does.
Huh. I wonder, and I might have talked about this in the cult episode, but my brain doesn't hold that. So I wonder if that makes us more susceptible to cults as well, because being inducted into a cult is very much like being inducted into a relationship with a narc.
And love bombed.
So, yeah.
Oh, come see this cool group of people that I know, and they're going to love you so much, and they're going to take care of you, and they're going to make you feel seen and welcomed, and they're going to take care of you. Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if there are studies, but I bet they would show that there is a high correlation of ADHD people in cults.
I wish I could remember if I talked about it, because I feel it kind of lights up a spot in my brain. But
somebody go back and listen to that episode and report back.
Please let us know.
Other types of behavior that wanted to touch on as being dangerous or abusive is isolation.
Oh,
so,
yes.
and this can go along with the narcissism and the, being attracted to dangerous people. But we tend to feel like, oh, they only want to spend time with me, and they don't want me to go out because they'll miss me, and they don't want me to see my family because they tell me that my family's not very good to me. And so if you're with somebody that is putting up barriers between you and people that you have good relationships with, maybe take a step back. Sometimes somebody good comes into our life and opens our eyes and shows us that other relationships or other situations maybe are harmful for us. But most likely, if somebody new comes into your life in a romantic way and they start putting those barriers up, they're probably isolating you and trying to get you in a situation where you depend only on that.
Yeah, that is it's a very scary thought. And it's so easy to think, no one could do that to me.
Right? Oh, I love my friends.
Yeah, and I love my friends.
I would never give this up every week. But all of a sudden you've got that person in your life that's like, oh, well, do you have to go every week? I really wish we could spend Thursdays together. Maybe just every other week. And then, I listened to that last episode, and Jessica's not very nice to you sometimes.
Yeah.
And
it's
they
so
just start
easy. Just pick
putting
a little
those little
thing.
cracks in there.
So always, if someone starts doing that, always step back and take a look, because you never know. They could be getting you away from a narcissist, but they also could be isolating you for abuse. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's crazy.
And not that I want to portray that like people with ADHD are like, oh, shiny, and they're going to run off and get themselves into bad situations. But I do think we are more susceptible because we're just so excited about excitement.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. I mean, I've done my work. And I did enough to get through the podcast this week. But I've been playing Baldur's Gate a lot because I am now obsessed with it. And it gives me the dopamines. And sometimes I'm up too late playing it because I like the dopamines. And makes me laugh and gives me a sense of fulfillment when I defeat a difficult enemy or whatever. I could definitely see it. I could also see it correlating. This is completely off topic, but my brain ADHD noodled into it. I could also see why video games can be more addicting to people with ADHD or addictions in general because of that dopamine hit. It made me really happy when I got drunk with my friends last week, so maybe I should just do it again. And then suddenly you need that instead.
Right. And I do feel like it's almost a double-edged sword in kind of a good way, because I definitely see that day to day in my life. Like there's things that I could definitely easily see myself being addicted to, but also I have no object permanence.
Right.
So sometimes I feel like it's impossible for me to get addicted to something because I forget it exists. Or if it is inconvenient for me, I will not do it.
I am now slightly inconvenienced. I hate everything related to that.
Like when Zach was still a smoker, I didn't let him smoke in the house, so he'd have to go outside and smoke, which was fine all summer and spring and fall. But the minute it was winter, all I could think was, this is when I would quit smoking. Because the minute I had to put shoes and clothes on to like step outside on my porch and stand in the cold to smoke is the minute I'd be like, this is dumb.
I don't
want to do this. This is not worth it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or
that was a great point.
When gas stations you started being able to pay at the pump, that's when I pretty much gave up soda, because I don't go into the gas station, so I never buy soda. And if I can't see it, it doesn't exist, and then I don't need it.
So what you're saying is gas stations should be putting vending machines by the gas pumps.
I bet they'd make a lot more money.
I imagine, because I don't want to go inside.
We should patent that.
We should, TM.
We said it. We declared it.
Dibs.
It's ours.
No, you're absolutely right. Candy, soda, even like energy drinks, really sell. I was gonna say gallons of milk.
Oh yeah.
I do not ever want to go anywhere, but I always need gallons of milk.
I gotta go in for milk.
You imagine stopping on the way home in Michigan when there's a winter storm. We were just talking about how we don't load up, but you stop at the gas station to fill up, because we do know that you want your cars to be full or else they can freeze. So you were like, oh, you know what? I'll just grab a couple things out of this vending machine.
Yeah.
I don't have to go inside.
And it takes a credit card, and you just got to push the buttons, and there's your groceries vended right to your car.
If this starts happening, we're gonna have to sue whoever does it, because
Right.
this is clearly
Obviously our idea.
No one's ever thought of this.
Nope.
Can you imagine how many times it would get hit?
Oh, and broken into.
Yeah.
It'd have to be like 24-hour gas stations.
Yeah.
Where somebody
And
could
they'd probably have to be
monitor it.
kind of built in.
Yeah.
Ugh. Anyway.
Sounds like a lot of work.
But suddenly not interested. Forget it.
Somebody take that idea, run with it, and just send us some mailbox money.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. 10%, 20%, we're good. So, love.
I did, and then lastly, I don't know if it was the love episode or not, but we had talked in the past about like platonic love or platonic marriage.
Oh, yes,
I had the
remember
story
talking
from
about
Reddit
that. Yeah.
about the two men that were planning
Just
to get
friends.
married, even though they weren't romantically, or how were they? They were kind of romantically involved, like they had that relationship and that lean on each other, but they weren't sexually involved.
Yes.
So they were like,
And everyone was like, it's okay if you're gay, you can tell us. And they're like, nah.
we're not.
man.
We just yeah. And I've come across that a couple more times now, especially we're seeing it more with women who, number one, are done dating men because men suck these days. I'm so glad I'm not single.
Same. Oh my gosh.
Or for whatever reason, they find another woman to get a house with and live as roommates or kind of platonically involved, and they support each other and lean on each other. If they both have children, they raise the babies together kind of as siblings, and I think that's incredible.
I feel like some single moms could really benefit from things like that, because it's so much harder in that situation.
I hope that our I want to word it as, I hope that our society starts to see these as more options.
Yeah.
I think at this point we can leave this nuclear family situation where everything is a man and a wife and 2.5 kids with a white picket fence. Number one, because the housing market and the economy is not allowing for single family homes and or single families to be able to buy a house anymore, much less if you were single and trying to live on your own.
Oh my gosh.
But if we could kind of embrace these new ideas of relationships, and it doesn't always have to be a sexual relationship or a romantic relationship, but that two adults can just buy a house and raise a family together without having to be romantically and sexually involved.
Yeah.
I think that's incredible. Going back to the days of communes and communities that really,
Without the culty
aspect. Unless it's a really good one.
All right. The glitter cult.
Yeah, we know.
Start talking about communes and I'm like, don't drink the Kool-Aid. I don't think I've covered that story, have
Which
I?
is surprising.
I'll sure do that.
Add it to the list, I guess.
I'm surprised. I think it's because I was just trying to stay away from the most Jeffrey Dahmer,
Right.
that obvious stuff.
But now that we're 89 episodes in,
I'm gonna have to start digging in. I could shift to completely happy topics.
and I'll come up with really terrible, awful, sad science stuff. Here's the science behind death and why you cry.
Exactly.
Can't wait.
Dopamine and dungeons. Just flop it.
Perfect.
I'm in. After episode 100, we'll just shift wildly.
And the only people that will understand are the ones that remember and listen to this episode.
Which will all be cut out. And it may be extra content that no one pays for, so no one will hear but me.
And Ryan.
If I leave it for him.
Right.
Love is good. I like love.
Yay, love.
I did that thing that my mom makes fun of me for just now, where I laugh really hard and then immediately shift into a complete, I'm fake laughing. So I don't know why I have a deep voice now. So.
Love is great.
I love love.
The end.
Don't even do the closing. It's just that.
It's just Jessica switches to a deep voice and cuts off.
I have this, if you know me or if you meet me, I have this habit of laughing really hard and then I switch it off immediately to talk or change the subject or whatever. But I promise you, I'm really laughing. I really think I actually laugh too much. It's the switch is because of the ADHD and my brain's like, okay, time to
okay, we're moving on now. And it's your brain, so it probably goes from like, that was really funny, to death.
Let's talk about ghosts.
You know what's not funny? Death.
Jeff.
Damn Jeff.
Oh, man.
Now we gotta think about that again.
Now we have to think about Jeff the talking mongoose.
So
Let me tell you
creepy.
a story. No, I know. It's very creepy. You'll have to figure out what horror and fear does to your brain that makes it addictive to people.
Oh. That's
Why
a
do I
good
like
one.
telling the creepy stories even though I get creeped out by them?
Why?
Why do women love true crime? Why do we... Okay, I know why we watch Criminal Minds. It's because of Spencer Reed.
But
Matthew Gray Kubler.
also,
Why do we like
why
it?
do we love these stories?
Yeah.
That's a good question.
Yeah, it's very
Especially since I don't.
interesting. Right. What's wrong with you? It's all the love in you.
It is.
It's your love chemical.
It's my agape.
Could you not?
It's my agape and my noradrenaline.
I love how you don't like them, but I tell you one every week. That brings me joy as well.
And I just roll with it.
You do.
It's like, yay! More
Right,
death.
death and
Creepy
dismemberment.
things. I mean, I did have to give up on your book.
You know, okay, so
I still think about them all the time. I want to go back and finish it because I hate unfinished stories too. But at the same time, I'm like,
it's
maybe this summer when
the
it's
ending is really
daylight most of the
satisfying.
time.
Yeah, do it. Or listen to it, which actually I found creepier.
Yeah, I'm
And
not going to do
also,
that.
Side note, like, I love the books. These are the camping books that we talked ad nauseum about at the very beginning of our podcast. I talked ad nauseum about. And I went, and after I talked about them so much, I started re-listening to them via YouTube. Someone had gotten permission from the author to read them on YouTube. It was much more gory and creepy than I remembered it being.
It's pretty intense.
It is. And I still love them, but I didn't realize that the first time I read them through. I think I was just so focused on the story aspect that I let all that other stuff go.
Right?
So, yeah, but you should. You should still read them.
You should finish those.
All right. So,
Okay.
this was a really weird episode of Love on Dungeons and Dopamine podcast.
Because we love love.
We love love. And because we haven't talked in a while,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. You can listen to us anywhere you stream podcasts and also on YouTube.
You can support us on Patreon at www.patreon.com/dungeonsdopamine.
And you can find us on Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, and Reddit.
You can reach out to us on any of those social medias and also at dungeonsdopamine@yahoo.com.
Dungeons and Dopamine is edited and published by Argyle Pigeon Productions.
Pigeons are right. Pigeons.
That pigeon's in love, okay?
It disagrees. All right, that's all.
Hey, we love you.
We love you. Bye.
Bye.